Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Giovanni Valderas. I am the exhibitions manager at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. And today I'm being joined by Deedra Baker and Katie Murray from Art Room. Ladies, will you kind of give us a brief overview of the exhibition that you are taking part of, or Art Room rather is taking part of?
Well, I'll introduce Art Room, and then Katie can introduce the exhibition a little bit more. So we are part of Art Room, and we started out as a curatorial team back in 2016, and we're doing exhibitions throughout Fort Worth, and then transitioned into a nonprofit a couple of years ago. And we have been working in the community with supplemental arts education through partnering with teachers in the Fort Worth ISD, so in FW ISD. We had a brick and mortar space and we're hosting classes and workshops there. We've transitioned to online programming now, doing what we can still to support our teaching artists in the community, and then hosting exhibitions. So we've done a couple of virtual exhibitions, actually maybe about 30 so far. So excited to have a physical space at the Community Arts Center to have one of our favorite annual exhibitions, the 4th annual Small Work Show.
Yeah, so we started the Small Works shows in 2016. That was our first year to do them. And because we started out as a pop-up gallery that was in a commercial space, and then we've kind of moved around. And so we're excited to kind of continue this tradition of popping up in different spaces for this particular show. This, I think, is the most amount of artists that we've had that both submitted artwork and that we selected, in addition to the amount of artwork, which is really exciting. And like Deedra said, this is our 4th annual show. So yeah, I mean, it's a small work show, so the name kind of says everything you need to know.
Awesome. Well, I'm so happy to have the Small Work Show at the Community Arts Center. You know, I think everyone would benefit if you can kind of give us some insight onto how, as curators, how that selection process works. What is it like about the work that you see that attracts you?
Sure. Well, this exhibition was interesting because we did receive so many submissions. We had, I think it was 121 artists just submit their work. So that is up to like 5 pieces per artist. So it was a lot to look at. So for me, and I have a little less experience curating than Katie does, so I'm sure her answer might be a little varied, but for me, I just kind of go with my gut instinct of, you know, back to basics of, does the form and content intrigue me? And so a lot of it is just kind of, I go through all the entries and look at them and kind of just a gut reaction. And then I go and I spend more time with it and kind of, think a little bit more about how I am experiencing the work in terms of, understanding the concept, or, trying to maybe zoom in. And the hard part is like seeing something two-dimensional, an image, and maybe the piece lives and breathes a different way physically.
I try not to show too many of the same kinds of work, so it was nice to have a variety of mediums with work being all the same size. I feel like the medium is really going to speak for the difference in all of these pieces. And I think I'm looking for things that I've never seen before as well. Some of these artists we have worked with in the past, and we recognize their work obviously instantly. But others we've never experienced, and so that's kind of fun to look at. And it may not be new for somebody else, but I think because it's new for us, it allows us to be more intrigued by it, maybe.
So I would be remiss if we didn't talk about some of the pieces in the show. So do you all have any particular pieces that you all find interesting to talk about?
So there's one by Eden Collins. Well, well, a couple by Eden Collins that came in, and she has these sculptural pieces, almost that colorful neon acrylic house that she has is something that I keep thinking about. It's just so interesting. And when you see it in person, I mean, you know, this is a small works show, but when you look at it in a 2D component like the computer, and you don't know what the scale is, it's kind of exciting to think about it in multiple scales. But when you see it in person, it's amazing too. That's one that kind of pops into my head right now.
Good deal.
Yeah, and actually, there's some work that's in the exhibition next to hers, Alexandria CONCHOLA, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. There are those little gouache circular pieces. I was so drawn to them from the color and then the narrative. You know, I could spend so much time in front of those pieces, like unpacking the stories, and I really was drawn to that quality of those. I mean, we selected all of them, so
Yeah, those were great
they
pieces.
liked those.
Yeah, those were fantastic little pieces, and I love that because if it's the paintings that I'm thinking about, they're like narrative works, and they're really they're like full of awkward moments, and yeah, and I love the conjuring like stories that go with that work. So yeah,
especially in so I love titles, and I don't know if that's a photographer thing. I think it's just depends on people's preference, but I'm always like really think a lot about titling my pieces, and I love the titles of her because those give you a clue. I mean, you can get a sense of the narrative from, of course, looking at the work, but the titles give you a clue as well as to like what the artist's intentions were. And I like that because then that helps you build the narrative.
yeah. There's one particular piece that I found interesting, and I think it was, and hopefully I'm going to pronounce her name right, LAEL Burns, Inner World 3. And it's like the glittery, abstract pink, predominantly colored piece. And it's so quirky and clumsy at the same time. And it's really beautiful. And I love like, and I know like glitter and kind of, you know, non-traditional medium is kind of hot right now, but I think she does it in a really selective way where it's presentable, like presented different than like what I would see traditionally. Like she has a lot of control in it, especially in that piece. And then there's also like this, you know, obviously it's like at best abstract, but maybe non-objective, but there is a certain like, there's like a caricature in it, you know, because the way that there's like the circular patterns in it, so it makes it look like there's a face. So it's very interesting. And then the way she's playing around with like the reds and the pinks and layering these different like these different patterns into it. So it's like all these kind of confrontations that are happening in the work, and at the same time they're working together, but at the same time they're kind of combating each other, fighting for the viewer's attention.
Yeah, I'm always excited to see her pieces in person because of like the tactile quality that's there. And those are some of the pieces that I love when I get to actually handle them. You know, that's like the fun part about putting exhibitions together. You have the freedom to touch the work. And hers, I'm always interested in because they haven't always, I think this year's hers is a little bit more mounted on something. If I remember correctly. And in the past, they've even been more like free formed. And yeah, they're just really interesting objects.
So how would one find you on the internet or on social media? What are the best ways to get a hold of you?
Well, so we of course have our website, which is artroomfw.org, and then we were lucky, and that's our handle for everything. It's just artroomfw. So you can find us on all the things.
Well, I can't thank you all enough for taking some time out of your schedule to do this video. And the show looks fantastic. Everyone, please come check it out. It ends on December 12th. So And one last thing before we end this, what I love about it is that the work is accessible to anybody who is, especially if they're, you know, an emerging collector, if that's what you want to call it. But anybody who loves work, I mean, you can find something. And that's how it started for me. I would just buy little small works, and some of those works are still some of the most cherished pieces that I have in my collection. So I can't thank y'all enough for providing that room to allow that to happen. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Giovanni. We appreciate all of your help and the hard work in installing the show, first of all, but just letting us show again really felt like a perfect way to round out this year. Awesome. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, and we can't wait to have you back. And so with that, everyone have a great day, and we will talk to y'all soon. See y'all.
Bye. Thank you.